Welcome back, guys. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Terrible Towel Tuesday. I am your host, Sim Football Critic, and let's jump right into it, guys. We got a lot to talk about in a short amount of time, guys. I'm going to try to get this one done in less than 15 minutes. I don't want to hold you too long, guys. I don't have a whole lot to talk about today, but there are some interesting things to talk about. So let's go ahead and get started with the first thing. The first thing, guys, as it says in the title, are the Steelers looking to draft a quarterback in the first round? I wouldn't have thought so. I don't think there's too many other people thinking so. You know, some of the beat writers for the Steelers or some of the main sites that cover the Steelers are not thinking so. But you have to consider it, guys. Why? Look at who came in for the very first pre-draft visit. So in case you guys are unaware of it, the Steelers had 4 guys that came in yesterday, 2 of which being quarterbacks, and I'll give you those names, 2 of them also being receivers. But guys, this is very important. Pat Mahomes and Josh Dobbs. Very interesting, guys. Very interesting. And the reason why I have to address that first is because of this. A guy like Pat Mahomes probably won't be there in later rounds. Yeah, I mean, he's basically in the top 5 as far as quarterbacks in this particular draft. You know, a lot of guys are saying that he might even have, some of the best upside, even though he's kind of raw. You know, I heard Todd McShay said he was one of the sloppiest guys he had to evaluate because of the things that this guy does well and the things he does not so well, some of his decision making. But he's actually a great talent, and the reason why I have to say that is Pat Mahomes might not be there in the first round. And to me, that's a little strange that the Steelers brought him in as one of the first players for a pre-draft visit. Now, the reason why that's significant, guys, I've said this over and over and over again. The Steelers always draft from their, they particularly like to draft from pre-draft visits. Now, here's another stat. Let me throw this out at you guys, and then we'll, I'll get back to this. Here's another stat. The Pittsburgh Steelers also, since 2010, and shout out to Alex Kozor, who basically did the report on this. He said since 2010, the Steelers' first-round draft pick has been someone that the Steelers attended their pro day. That's very interesting as well, guys, and we're going to take a look at that a little bit later here in the video, so we can rule out some people based on that particular report. It doesn't mean it's set in stone. It doesn't mean that's concrete, but it does give you, an interesting path to look at. We all know as Steelers fans, the Steelers like to follow certain protocol, in the way they do business, the way they do free agency, the way they do draft, the way they build their team. You see what I'm saying? So it's not too far-fetched. All right, so let's take a look at a couple things. Let's get back to the Pat Mahomes thing. Let me give you my evaluation of him. This dude's arm talent is phenomenal. I'm actually going to link his highlights in the description of this video once I'm done. It's not here now, guys, but if you want to see that, if you want to quickly find it, come back to the video a little later once it's posted, archived on YouTube. I'd say maybe about 30 minutes or so after the show. I'll have a link to the description, and you guys are going to see this on the archive in the archive fashion. It should already be there. Check out this dude's highlights. This guy's arm talent, off the charts. They say he did a good job at his pro day with his arm, but just looking at his play. Now, some inconsistencies as far as his play in terms of decision-making. He does force the ball quite a bit. I haven't had a lot of opportunity to see him play, but I have actually seen him play a couple live games, but mainly I had to rely on his tape like most people do, who haven't watched him. He has some questionable decision-making at times as far as forcing it in there. He kind of reminds you of a Favre in that regard, that would just wing it in there from time to time. But his arm strength and his accuracy on the deep ball, good stuff, man. I mean, this kid is special. He's young. Like any other quarterback who has talent, who's gifted, they're gonna do some things. They're gonna rely on their skills or rely on what they feel is their best mind at the moment and make some mistakes. They all do it. I mean, heck, Ben Roethlisberger forces passes, but this guy is interesting, man. Interesting. But he does, and I see one of the commenters here says pre-snap blitz recognition. These are the type of tools you want to look for on a quarterback, whether he has it or he doesn't have it. But look at his tape. Like I said, I'll have a link for you guys a little later. Check him out. But it's very interesting, man, that the Steelers brought this guy in this early in the process as far as pre-draft visit. The reason why he's interesting and I want to jump to something else is because I don't think that guy's going to be there in the third round, which is where I think the Steelers prefer to get a quarterback. Third round. Remember, we have 2 picks in that round. And I think that round is going to be interesting because I still feel like first round edge rusher, but I don't know. It could be a man press corner. Very interesting. But let me move on through this, guys. But keep in mind, those guys. Oh, and the other one is Josh Dobbs. Here's another guy. Now, Josh Dobbs, in my opinion, Joshua Dobbs is actually, more heady, if you ask me. He might be the more pro ready than, Mahomes. Mahomes also, they ran like that spread air raid type of offense, at Texas Tech. He hasn't really been under center that often. You see what I'm saying? So it's a lot of different things between those guys. But again, a guy like Dobbs, him being an aerospace engineer major, what have you, this guy might be more of the mental game. He may be more prepared, but we'll see. Now, Josh Dobbs, however, could be around third round, second, third round. See? So it's very possible that the Steelers might make a move in that regard, depending on how their visit went and depending on how the board falls. But I just want to throw that out there, guys. It's possible that we may draft a quarterback in the first round. I want to know from you guys, how would y'all feel about that? How would you feel about that? So let's move on, guys. Like I said, I want to get through this video fairly quick. I started a little bit late. All right, now let's take a look at some of the other guys who are actually visiting the Steelers today. You have Takkarist McKinley, Tack McKinley. Here's a guy I've been talking about, right? Him and Derek Rivers, right? Now, here's the thing. Another thing to notice. The Steelers are bringing in other guys like they brought in Jordan Lewis, the Michigan cornerback, and Monte Nicholson is a safety out of Michigan State. So you see the type of guys that they're bringing in early, and you can definitely expect more people are going to come. But again, here's the thing that you need to pay attention to. Pro Day. Again, giving all the credit to Alex Kozor. He reported since 2010, possibly 2009, but he knows for sure 2010, the Steelers' first-round draft pick has been someone that the Steelers were in attendance for their pro day. Why is that important, you might say? Let's take a look. The pro day tracker up to date right now. Shout outs to SteelerDepot.com. They're keeping up with this since like March 7th. They went to Purdue. They went to Alabama. Of course, we know Tim Williams, Ryan Anderson, those guys, Marlon Humphrey, cornerback. Those guys are notable guys there. They went to Colorado. They went to, let me take a look at a couple of these guys here. They did go to Temple. So Hassan Riddick, which I still don't think Riddick is going to be there, man, at that pick. But let's look at some of these other situation, guys, as far as other players that I think, the Steelers may look at. Of course, they attended Auburn. They attended Auburn, and who's there? Carl Lawson. Again, the guy who I feel they might go after at number 30. They also attended, I'm trying to find the more notable ones. Of course, Youngstown State. That's where Derek Rivers is at, and he's there today for pre-draft visit. So that's a double whammy in regards to how the Steelers do business. Let's see who else. They attended Wisconsin. TJ Watt is another guy that they met with. I think they had dinner with him. I'm not sure I'm sold on TJ Watt just yet. He's a raw talent. I'm not sure that's the guy I would want at 30. Let's see. Who else, guys? Who else here? Just looking at some of these pro days that may make sense for us. They did attend Missouri. So Charles Harris is still in play, outside linebacker. And you have Ohio State, Marcus Lattimore. It's another guy. Keep an eye on him. All right. And let's see who else here jumps off of the table. Now, Todd Haley attended Notre Dame. Deshaun Kaiser could be another guy. I'm thinking third, fourth round. So that could be a guy that's in play. And Jordan Lewis. Here it is in Michigan. They attended Michigan. Now Jordan Lewis is at Pittsburgh for a pre-draft visit. See, now you're kind of seeing the correlation. Taco Charlton, again, at Michigan. So keep an eye on guys like that. Jabril Peppers. Keep an eye on these type of guys to see if they also come to a visit. But just giving you guys, a little bit of a update there, and you kind of understand what I'm saying here as far as the Steelers. When you look at the history, the pro day, particularly since 2010, the pro day guys, if they've been at their pro day, our number one pick has come from that particular visit. Most of our other picks a lot of times come from pre-draft visits, whether they were at their pro day or not. Steelers do that quite often. So pay attention to the guys who are coming in to visit this week. And I'm sure coming next week, but we're getting close to the draft. Pay attention to that list and go back and look at the guys that they looked at their pro day. And you can kind of narrow down, who you think they may take. Now, the way I will end this show today, guys, I'm at a loss. I don't know. I don't know where we're going, number one, because a couple guys stand out to me. I think it could be Takk McKinley. Again, I'm going to always continue to say Carl Lawson. But here's some other news, guys. I'm hearing that they're showing very, considerable interest in the kid from Clemson, the cornerback, Tankersley. And I already mentioned Marcus Lattimore. I don't know. If you look at Tankersley and Lattimore, they kind of fit exactly what what Tomlin recently said about wanting to do more man-to-man stuff. They could go corner, and I'm not mad. I'm not upset if they were to go corner first round. A guy like that, big body, length. He has length, has height. I've heard the knock on some of those guys, some of the bigger corners. I'm hearing that their tackling skills aren't that up to par. But, maybe that's something that you can correct. We've seen this before. We've seen Artie Burns struggle with tackling early on. Later in the season, he got a little better. But I wouldn't be mad at that because I said what I would like us to do is edge rusher first, secondary second, or vice versa. If you can get the secondary guy, the corner that's going to allow you to do what you want to do in the first round, grab him. Again, if my man Obi, Malinfanu was out there, get him, that big safety. If he's there at 30, I would not be upset with that as well because there's going to be pass rushes that we can get in the second round. However, if you rather go after a pass rusher immediately, then definitely do that at 30. Again, Takk McKinley is probably going to be one of those guys. Derek Rivers, even though it was a small school situation, all we got to do is refer back to Javon Hargrave. That shouldn't scare you. And many others. I mean, hey, me and Joe Green didn't go to a gigantic school, right? But then again, you got Carl Lawson there again. That's another guy that they met with, and we'll see if he comes in for a pre-draft. But I don't know. I don't know right now, man. And again, let's go back to the beginning of the show. They might go quarterback. And if they go quarterback, that's going to be very interesting because it makes me believe that maybe they know a little more about Ben Roethlisberger than what we're hearing. And shout outs to my boy here, Tony, man. We talked about this yesterday. Hey, is Ben going to play 3 or 4 more years? Probably not. And this is my opinion on that, guys. I wouldn't be too upset if they drafted a quarterback in the first round, somebody like a Pat Mahomes that has a lot of upside, great talent, can run, he's agile, deep ball accuracy. That kid's accuracy on the deep ball is phenomenal, right? What if they draft a guy this year? They figure they need to do that this year and they miss on him. Well, they can still come back next year and draft another one. So I wouldn't mind them spending a year or two, a couple years to try to find a replacement for Roethlisberger because that day is coming. This could be Roethlisberger's last season. Hey, he might be retiring. We don't know. So I'm not opposed to that. But it's going to be very interesting, man. Keep your eye, again, I want to keep saying it. Keep your eyes on the people that they bring in before the draft, but also on that list, the pro day visits, guys that they went to their pro day. Because according to the last several years, since 2010, first round pick has been a guy that got a visit at a pro day. So it's interesting, guys. All right, that's going to pretty much do it for today, man. I told you this would be a quick one, but let's take a look and see what some of you guys are saying real quick. Scooter Young was saying the pre-snap blitz recognition needs to be incorporated into Madden. Absolutely. It's got to replicate everything. My boy Tony said, hell to the black and gold. Obviously, guys, we already know what time it is with that. Who we talking about, bro? I just joined. What's up, homie? What's up, Sweet Jones? I'm basically just talking about, man, the fact that the Steelers had brought in 2 quarterbacks. They were part of their first group of pre-draft visits yesterday. It was Josh Dobbs out of Tennessee and Pat Mahomes out of Texas Tech. That kid is for real. You know, it may be a little raw, but he's for real. What else are you guys saying? Walter Payton didn't go to a huge absolutely. Walter Payton didn't go to a huge school. So that school thing doesn't really matter to me, man. Mean Joe Green, where did he go? North Texas, I think. That ain't no powerhouse school. You know what I mean? At that, definitely not at that time. So that doesn't matter. Our sack leader, James Harrison, went to Kent State. That stuff to me doesn't always matter. It's about skill. And when you get in the NFL, how can you deliver yourself? Can you be somebody? Again, the most recent example of that is Javon Hargrave, South Carolina State. And look at him. Had a phenomenal rookie season for a nose tackle. All right. And Still Jackson says they might go quarterback. Who knows? They might, man. They might. And Tony says the same thing. They might. Listen, considering what we know about Roethlisberger, let's just take the retirement off the table. He ain't going to play much longer. They may think it's time to take a few chances in the next couple drafts. We'll see. All I want us to do in this draft, and real quick, because I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up here, guys. I got to get out of here. Real quick, all I want to see us do is definitely get pass rush help, secondary help, particularly corner or safety if he's out there, free safety. All right? I definitely want to see us grab a running back. We do need to grab a quarterback at some point. I wouldn't be opposed to another middle linebacker as well. You know, your edge rusher is probably going to be your outside linebacker, so you kill 2 birds in 1 stone. And then also a tight end. All right? And perhaps a receiver. I don't know. The receiver is going to depend on Martavis Bryant, and that's going to dictate where we go in the draft. I think we'll get one probably late, but if something happens where Martavis for some reason is not back, look for them to go after a receiver in one of those 3rd-round picks, and that's going to shake up things right there because the 2 3rd-round picks, I think right now would probably be quarterback, running back, unless we go quarterback in the 1st round. So it's going to be very interesting, guys, but that's the show. That's all I got for you today, guys. I'm going to whip the towel. Here we go, Steelers. Keep your eyes glued to the net to see who we're bringing in, and that should give you some indication of what's going on. So, all right, guys, you know the routine. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, make sure you cut on your notifications. And like always, I promise it will never hurt you to hit that like button. All right, guys, until next time, here we go. Peace.